We've been seeing a lot of butterflies out at the gardens, and the monarchs have just finished their migration through. But in addition to this, we've been seeing a lot of other creepy crawlies that are trying to get into the house. And these include crickets and the spiders. And you might be seeing some spiders trying to get into your home or out in the garden right now. And with us today is Dr. Ken Pinkston, and he is the Extension Entomologist for OSU, and he's going to visit with us about some of the more common spiders that you might be seeing. And Ken, thanks for being with us.
Hey Brenda, thank you. I appreciate the opportunity. And you're right, we as well as gardeners are seeing a lot of this type material, the creepy crawlers sent in, questions coming up about it, and some of it really old myth and wives' tale, some of it true story, and some over concern, and just a little mix of everything. So we thought we might take an opportunity at least to look at some of the wildlife here at the garden and see if we couldn't maybe inform some people about creatures they'll be running into and seeing in their garden, around their home, and maybe it'll feel a little better educated about some of the critters. Okay. I know we picked a spot here today that we park right by a couple of webs of garden spiders. Some people call these orb weavers because of the ornate webbing that they produce, and then also the zigzaggy pattern, often common with this spider virtually hanging upside down in its web and then making this zigzag in underneath. Really only moving when it goes out to capture prey. I mean, if a moth flies into the web or another insect pops in, or even another spider can be a prey for these things. And even brings up the point that if you start looking at spiders in general around the house, out in your garden, that you note that they are predators. I mean, they feed on other beasts that you'd find in the garden area, and some of which would be considered beneficial, and some of obviously are pests to your garden planting. And consequently, that's why in general we think of all spiders as being beneficial from the standpoint of being active predators and thinning out some of the other creatures that would be in the garden. But overall, I think there tends to be, especially as we get close to Halloween, more of a concern that they do more harm than they do good, or that the spider itself is, from its name, Arachnia, the beast of the goddess of spiders or something. And in actuality, we have a beneficial species that we really don't need to be overly concerned about.
So basically, even though they are scary at first, most of these spiders are actually very beneficial.
Yeah, and like I say with this one, probably the major harm done here is concern at night if you run into the webbing, or an individual working in the garden and they hit the webbing, see the movement of the spider, and it probably causes more people to hurt themselves than the spider would ever harm.
Okay. Well, what are some of the other beneficial spiders that we might be seeing right now?
Right now, we're having in the state movement, and probably will occur up through the first part of November, of male tarantulas. I mean, walking up and down roadways, you might even move some foliage aside in your garden and out comes a little hairy tarantula, and you at least might be aware that it's not going to harm you, it's not going to jump on you, it's not going to bite you. The tarantula itself is highly overrated as a potential harm to humans. It is, again, a beneficial species because they're a predatory animal that gets out and actively forages to find insects or other spiders to feed on. Mm-hmm. And the human, it doesn't fall into that category as a meal. But it can, again, maybe cause you to move a little rapidly, run into a stake, hurt yourself, something like that. The movement right now, searching for dens, overwintering sites, we see more of a mating migration of male tarantulas in the spring of the year, from late April in various parts of southern Oklahoma up through northern parts that would run into early June. So you will see this movement of the tarantula again next spring. Right now they're basically just looking for overwintering sites, as are many of the creatures you mentioned at the start of the program, with spiders that are trying to get into homes, as well as crickets and other things, because certain species need a little more protection than they're going to find outdoors.
Okay, so that's what would be driving them in, basically, is looking for protection.
Primarily, yeah, they're just looking for, if your home's a good warm spot, then hey, they'll take it over too. And that's just one. As you say, there are others. Probably the jumping spiders are another one that we would see at this time of the year. And these spiders do have a habit of maybe sitting in a windowsill or on, say, your patio, and under some foliage or on a leaf. And when you approach, or an insect would approach, there is a jumping or leaping ability with it. Now we're not talking feet here, but to the extent that you can visibly tell that this spider does jump. That is its operation for finding food and capturing food, and it's not, again, a harmful or poisonous or venomous spider to a human, but very common in our state. Another one we see so commonly in the fall, and actually you can find it all summer long, but right now with tall grass up around, say, the foundation of the home or outbuildings, even in under foliage, the wolf spiders are very common, often with chevron shapings or markings on the back area, and there are a few different species of them, but they're very common. A hunting spider, again, that tends to get into overgrown areas. It'll also wander into your garage or onto patios or other areas, looking for warm, protected sites. But as a normal rule, we don't consider it also a dangerous species. All these we've mentioned so far, the orb weavers, the jumping spiders, the tarantulas, the wolf spiders, really, I guess if you were looking for an analogy in the insect world to compare the venom to, it might be, to most people, worst case scenario, like a bee sting, if you were actually bitten by one, and not really considered to be life-threatening, I guess, unless you were an extremely hypersensitive individual. I mean, we would think, obviously we're not out there to get bitten, but not really a concern to us. An exception in Oklahoma, the black widow spider. In the fall of the year, we tend to see it a little more commonly, and one that we see year-round throughout the state of Oklahoma, the fiddleback or brown recluse spider. Right. It is by far our spider to watch in the state in terms of raising the kids to recognize the spider, recognizing it ourselves, and being cautious with it.
Okay. Now, this time of year would be a time during fall cleanup and things that people might want to be more cautious about a fiddleback.
Yeah, the brown recluse, by nature, tends to be a nocturnal beast, or, as its name implies, recluse, in that it's not going to just make itself widely known or obvious to you in your areas like the old boots sitting on the back porch, the overalls that you use for working in the garden, occasionally using for painting, hanging on the back porch, the gloves that may set out for weeks on end out in an outbuilding. Those are ideal harborages for brown recluse spiders, and it's not a bad idea in Oklahoma to shake those out, really take the boot, turn them upside down, and vigorously get after, looking for signs of brown recluse spider, or having them bumped out as you're shaking the boot before you put them on, because it is a spider to be wary of. It has a venom, or the toxic material in it is a localized toxin that kills tissue locally, and horror stories abound. I think everyone in Oklahoma has heard of leg falling off, rotting tissue, and some of them get a little carried away, obviously. Right. To my knowledge, there are 2 deaths been reported in some 25 years I've worked with the university, and at least where the autopsies have shown that the venom of a brown recluse spider was considered to be the problem.
So basically, the brown recluse is the one people should watch out for here.
It would be the spider that everyone in Oklahoma should be able to recognize, and we've touched on a few of the common species, Brenda, but there are a lot of other species found in the state, a lot of other information needs there for the public.
Okay. Well, if people do want to know more about spiders, they can actually go to their local county extension office, and there is a fact sheet on some of the more common spiders in Oklahoma. So if they need more information, they can check it out there. Well, thank you very much for coming out and talking to us, Dr. Pinkston.
Appreciate it, Brenda.
We hope you've enjoyed this classic from the Oklahoma Gardening Vault. Remember, even though these tips and techniques are timeless, there's always something new to learn in the world of gardening. By subscribing to both Oklahoma Gardening and OK Gardening Classics, you'll have access to a wealth of gardening knowledge, both classic and contemporary.